The story begins by showing a boy who was running in the fields with his cycle. He looks a little scared and he repeatedly looks behind him as if he is running away from someone. Then suddenly a white van comes and stops on the road. The van driver shouts at him and says, "If you want your mobile, come back to me." But this boy, ignoring the driver's words, increases his speed as if he is in danger from this driver. While running, he crossed this field and reached the other road, riding a cycle. He was trying to get out of here quickly. But this driver stands in front of him from the other way. As soon as this cyclist came near, this van driver made an accident with his van. That boy fell on the road there injured. After that, the van driver removed the cone barriers from his van and put them on the side of his van. He picked up the cycle of the cyclist and put it in his van. His van was looking more like a pathogenic store than a van. Here he is now preparing a chemical in a cylinder, a pathogen, that is, the one that kills insects. He was doing all this in a protective suit. As long as the driver was pumping this chemical, the cyclist dragged him and went into a pond of water a little far from here. And as soon as a car passes near that road, he shouts and asks for help. But because of the music in the car driver could not hear his voice. That van driver also did his job without fear after seeing this girl. After she left, the driver went to the boy. First, he put the boy's mouth in the water and tormented him. After that, putting his cylinder pump in the boy's mouth, he put all the chemical, which is used to kill insects, in this boy. Because of which this boy died here. In the meantime, this boy repeatedly asked for forgiveness from this psychopathic driver. But the driver replied that the time for forgiveness has passed. After the death of this boy, the scene shifts to a family in which Hans, his wife and 2 daughters are there. All these people want to go to their city for Hans's dad's birthday. But because of Hans's wife, these people are very late, and that's why Hans is very angry. While driving fast, he does not care about anything, and drives carelessly on the highway at full speed. And because of these mistakes of his, twice he was saved from an accident. But Hans still did not get any lesson. His wife was telling him to drive safely, but he was not going to listen to anyone. While driving on the road, a car overtakes him. Hans feels bad about this. Already he was driving at a speed of 140, but now he increased the speed of the car and started at a speed of 160. He had forgotten that he had a family with him. The driver in front of him was also probably crazy. While increasing the speed, he overtakes Hans and immediately turns his car. In this way, Hans and his car would have had a bad accident if Hans had not braked on time. Because of such a sudden brake, Hans's daughter was badly injured. Here too, Hans did not admit his mistake, that his family was saved from an accident. In fact, he started saying bad things to the driver. After this, Hans went ahead, and he got a lot of traffic on the highway ahead. There were big trucks on his right side, and a van in front of him, due to which his speed was reduced a lot. And this thing was making him angry. As the truck moves ahead, he brought his car to the other line while turning it to the side. And he started giving strange signals to the white van driver. As if he was crazy, that's why he was driving slowly. However, the white van driver was driving according to the rules. Hans was wrong here. Moving forward, Hans stopped at a petrol station, where the same van driver had come to talk to his family. We have seen this van driver in the movie before. That is, he is the same killer who killed the boy on the cycle. At this time, the only purpose of coming to Hans's family is that Hans should apologize to him for his mistakes. But the crazy Hans, instead of doing this, makes him even more angry. Hans now sat back in his car in anger, and he started the car on the road. The van driver was also following him. Hans's wife noticed this and Hans too. But they thought that maybe this van driver was also going somewhere from this road. But as soon as they turned towards the town, the van driver was also behind them. After seeing this man behind him continuously, Hans was now sweating with fear. Out of fear, he did not even know that he had broken another traffic rule. He had broken the signal and moved ahead. And he also knew that this driver was following him because of his mistakes. Now Hans's children had also noticed that van, and they were also scared. Hans's wife, who was a smart lady, wants to call the police here, but Hans refuses her. Hans now puts the car aside while thinking something. As soon as his car stops, the van also stops. Hans gets down and asks this van driver, "What is your problem? Why are you following us?" When the driver replies, "You apologize to me, I will leave chasing you." But Hans did not even apologize. While arguing, these people finally reach the conclusion that the police should be called to sort out this matter. The van driver says, "Okay, you call the police, I don't have a battery in my phone." Hans gives him his phone, but we notice that the van driver is hesitating to call the police. Hans says, "I know why you are doing this. You must have had a fight with the police." Hearing this, the van driver gets so angry that he presses Hans's hand holding the phone in such a way that not only the hand, but the phone was also crushed and broken. And Hans got a lot of pain in all this. The van driver now takes his phone from Hans's hand and puts it in his dashboard. To take it, when Hans moved towards the inside of the car, the van driver started pulling him towards himself. Seeing in danger, Hans's wife comes here to save Hans. She pulls Hans and tries to get him out of the van, in which she succeeds, but as a result, they both go and fall on the road. A fast car coming from behind was about to crush Hans's wife's head, but she was saved by fate. After all this, Hans's wife begs him, "Please, you apologize to that driver." But Hans was not going to back down from his ego, and in the meantime, his anger falls on his daughters, who were both crying. Hans did not see their crying, and finally, he decides to apologize to the driver. He goes and apologizes to the driver, but the driver is not going to forgive him now, but the driver is now in the mood to punish him. The driver had started preparing to open his van and kill Hans. Seeing him busy, taking advantage of the opportunity, Hans tries to steal his phone, but at the same time, the driver comes to him, pulls him out of his van and throws him out. This driver had pumped the pathogen spray. Before he could attack Hans with it, Hans runs and sits in his car and closes all his windows. A window that was not completely closed, the driver tries to spray them with it, but fortunately all these people survive. Hans drives the car ahead, in which the driver's poisonous pump was also left. Due to the break of the pump, the cylinder from behind explodes, and the poison falls on the driver's leg, due to which his leg started burning badly. Inside the closed car of these people, the smell of the pathogen had spread a lot and they were suffocating. So Hans stops the car in the jungle. While doing all this, they felt that the driver had also followed them. In order to save their lives, they all sit in the car. The car was going to drive Hans's wife this time, but the car was stuck in the mud. These people were trying to get the car out, that the van driver brings his van right in front of their car. To get out of here soon, putting his life in danger, Hans gets out of the car, and pushing the car, he takes it out of the mud. In the meantime, we see that the driver has pumped that poison, again to kill Hans, but fortunately, this time Hans sits in the car before his attack. Hans's wife takes the car and moves forward, but before leaving, the driver breaks a window of his car. Along with that, he had also sprayed the pathogen on his front mirror, due to which the vision was blurred. In this way, they was going to have an accident with a car, but at the same time, the car driver puts his car aside, and their lives is saved here too. Their children were getting very angry because of fear. Hans's wife, by driving the car very fast, wanted to get out of this situation. While Hans himself calls the police at this time, but unfortunately, due to a strong shock in the car, his mobile phone falls out of his hand. The van driver was still following them. In this way, Hans's wife takes the car inside the town to save her life. Where she was driving the car in a hurry, a lot of children were saved from the accident. Her car also stops on a footpath, and a lot of people surround her car to make her realize her mistake. Hans and his family do not care about these people, but they feel their lives are in danger. They see that the van had now stopped outside the street, where the people were inside the street. Hans's wife breaks all the rules of driving again, and turns her car towards the police station. They go to the police station and get the report of the van driver. They tell all the conditions that happened to them, how the driver took their phone and he is constantly behind them. Hans was telling the police, "Can you locate my phone and catch that man?" But the police tells him that all this is not that easy. After this, these people, they get ready. After that people make their cars repaired, and go back to their parents' house with police protection. On the other hand, we see the van driver, who took out his mother's number from Hans's phone, and also found out where his mother's house was. While Hans and his family were in the police station, in the meanwhile, he got his van cleaned and reached his parents' house before Hans. He shows Hans's phone to Hans's mother and asks her permission to come inside. But here his mother does not listen to this driver. Then the driver shows his leg to Hans's mother and says that some chemicals have fallen on me. I need water to clean them. Seeing the bad condition of his leg, she gives him permission to come home. But his suspicious actions and words had now put Hans's mother in doubt. To help, she goes outside and starts screaming. And before anyone could hear her voice, the driver shuts his mother's mouth and brings her inside the house. He tells her that you should be punished for your daughter or him. Tell me, you were the one who brought her up, right? Now the driver takes Hans's mother to the upstairs room, where Hans's father was lying in the room. This woman tells him to lock the room to save her husband's life. And before he could lock it, the driver kicked and opened the door, and Hans's father, who was standing on the other side, went away. Here it is shown that Hans had also reached home with his family, but he sent the police back from here. Because he does not want to bother his parents. He is unaware that danger has already come to his house. They rang the doorbell, but there was no response from the house. Hans now opens the back door of the house and goes inside the house. And all these people come in through the main gate. He did not find his parents at home. Hans's daughters started playing here, and while playing, they found Hans's parents locked in the washroom. On the other hand, Hans himself was locking all the doors and windows of this house, so that the killer could not enter inside who was already inside. Hans's wife calls out to him by locking Hans's parents. As soon as Hans goes upstairs to check, he meets the driver first of all. This psycho driver was wearing a protective suit and had the same chemical with him that he used to murder everyone. Not everyone, but only those people who made mistakes. He punished the people who made mistakes on his behalf. In front of him were Hans's daughters, his parents and his wife. But he did not harm anyone. Out of fear, Hans's wife locked herself in the room with her two daughters. While Hans tries to escape from here to save himself from this driver. And all the locks he had put in this house to escape from the killer. Now, while opening all those locks, his life was in danger. At this time, the driver had sprayed him many times. We're shown that somehow Hans managed to get out of the house. The driver had also come out of the house. Because of the chemical spray, Hans's face was burning badly. He was asking for help from the people walking on the road, but no one stopped his help. To save himself, he did not see any other way. So the better option was to go back to his house. The gate he had come from, he could not even think of going back from. That's why he goes through the pipe into the room, where his wife had locked her children. His wife and his mother pull him into the room. Now, because his mother had also helped the driver to treat his burnt leg from the chemical. That's why she knew that the best treatment for this is water. She takes Hans to the bathroom and baths him, which gives Hans a lot of peace. He had now realized that the driver is only behind him. He wants to punish him for his mistakes. Outside, Hans's wife had also called the police. The police let Hans's daughters sit in their van. And here that man, that driver comes back. And tells the girls, "Don't be afraid, I will not hurt you. I just came to say that you are not at fault in all this. If anyone is at fault, that is you mom and dad." This driver had a lot of courage. He also knew that the police were looking for him. Still, he was roaming around the police. After saying this, he had left. Now Hans's wife came to her daughters and told them not to worry. That man will not come to trouble us anymore. They are safely taken to their city. And we see that there is no whereabouts of the driver after that. Their life is now going through a lot of peace. Everything is normal. One day, when Hans was taking his daughters to school, then we see that white van again. This white van crushes Hans while returning home. And here we know that the driver had not forgotten Hans till today. After this, the driver pumps his pathogen chemical in his pump and puts it in Hans's mouth while dying and kills him. In this way, he puts Hans to the end from his side. While showing it, this movie ended here.